Well, you guys love that. Know that I enjoy. Let's start over again. Can I call 20? When you walk into the locker room, you see an AU sign, but underneath it says "Make History," and that's something that has mattered to us. Um, and even though we talk about making history, the history we talk about is moving forward. But this is the first 1-2 matchup in the SEC that's ever happened. And I just don't think if you would try to predict whether it would be who would be in that matchup, Kentucky certainly would be a school that would be. It'd be Kentucky and who else? Could it be Tennessee? Could it be Florida? Could it be Arkansas back in the day with Nolan Richardson? Or could it be a Dale Brown LSU team? Who could it be? I don't think many people would have picked Auburn, Alabama to be that team, those teams in the first. And yet, since 17, 8, and 18, Alabama and Auburn have won 8 championships. And so the championships of the SEC, I guess, over the last 8 years kind of run through the state of Alabama. What I remember about my last 1-2 game in Memphis in 2008 was that both what John Calipari was trying to do at Memphis and I was doing at Tennessee, trying to make our basketball programs relevant on a national stage. Just knowing that night with College Game Day present at the FedEx Forum, it was 1 versus 2 in Memphis, Tennessee, with 2 teams from Tennessee. And it's very similar now. And the thing I was proud about then was that it wasn't at Chapel Hill or Durham or Fog Allen or Poly Pavilion or up at Michigan State, or it was in the state of Tennessee. Same thing here. This game's in the state of Alabama, and obviously that's very, very significant. Alabama had a great postseason run last year. But this year's team is much better than last year's Final Four team, and everybody that has played them understands that. They are, just a great offensive team. They've scored 100 points a bajillion times. They're 7th in the nation in points at the foul line. It's freeze, layups, and threes, and it's a great system, and that makes they're just an incredibly dangerous team, great in transition. They're really deep. They're much bigger than they were a year ago. There's a reason why they were preseason number 1, anywhere between 1 and 4. They've absolutely lived up to it. So we know that going there, we're going to have our best game of the year, our best effort of the year. We feel better about ourselves having beaten Vanderbilt on the road, a place that they were 12-1 at, and had beat Tennessee and had beat Kentucky. So we hope to have a great preparation and looking forward to being on College Game Day once again. I think then you could also make an argument. We've hosted College Game Day 5 years in a row. Nobody in the country's done that yet, and so to be on it again this year is obviously something that we're looking forward to.
Nathan, and then raise your hand. Let me ask the question.
You mentioned after Vanderbilt, the defense was going to have to carry you guys moving forward. Obviously, like you said, Alabama's prolific on offense. What's your message to the team getting ready for this? And I guess how do you go about it, knowing that you know Nato and so what he likes to do so well?
I think coming down the stretch now, look, defense and rebounding wins championships, and we're playing for championships now. After Saturday's game, I think there are only 6 more SEC regular season games left. Is that right?
Yeah.
So obviously it's to get a 1-game lead and to be in first place. And our defense is going to have to be, really, really good. They just don't need any time or space to get those shots off. They shoot them from way, way behind the 3-point line with great efficiency. Their spread ball screen stuff makes it hard to protect the rim and protect that 3-point line. It's when it's running right, it's a beautiful thing.
Berg, and then JG, and then Peter.
Bruce, you had mentioned a while back transition defense. Obviously, Bama's a team that's going to want to attack as much as possible. How do you feel like your guys have improved recently in that transition? How much is that going to be, under fire with the
Well, part of your transition is the defense is not having a body on the floor. So if we go in, play off 1 foot, go in there, get fouled, or contact, and are on the ground, it's a 3-point shot. It's a 3 ball down the other end. So we have to stay on our feet. We talk about being on fire in transition. We have played some teams that do like to play fast. The last couple teams we played, Oklahoma, Florida, Vanderbilt, were all 3 teams that did play faster paced. And this will be one of the fastest paced. Couple factors on that. We send guys to the offensive glass. They know that. They want to punish us for sending guys to the offensive glass. Get out and go. We start 2 centers, and they recognize that they want to make Dylan and Janai have to get up and on the floor and have it be a track meet. And the third thing is they'd rather, like every team, would rather score in transition and offense before a good defense gets set, and we've got a good defense.
How do you think your team will deal with Aden being on the other team? I mean, they know he left, but him and Labaron are 2 guys who've been around here a bunch of times. What do you think that'll be like?
Well, it'll be different in both cases because, we were the first to offer Labaron when he was younger and, thought he was going to be a great player. We had a great relationship I think we offered him a scholarship. I think for a while he has accepted a scholarship and then what do you call that when they don't take it? What's that word? It happens a lot. Decommit. No, I'm serious. That was decommitted. So, but left on good terms and happy for him doing really well. And then, Aden was a very popular player on our team. I mean, he's got great friends on our locker room, and I'm sure that's going to be, different. Playing against somebody that our guys had a great friendship with. I think things have worked out really well for both. Aden's playing great. His confidence is up, he's one of the most dangerous players coming off the bench in the SEC. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's playing with such great confidence, and I'm not gonna be happy for him when he's drilling him for 35 against us. But and I think things have worked out pretty well for Auburn too. That the guys that we brought in have helped us, and so I look at it as a win-win.
Peter, then Julian, then Johnny.
Specifically with Aden, when you're playing against a guy who's been in your program before, does that bring any challenges or advantages? Just being around somebody who the guys are familiar with.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's great motivation on both sides, and Aden has an understanding of how we guard and how we'll try to guard him, and I'm sure there's no question that he's going to want to beat Auburn, and obviously there'll be an edge. But like I said, I'm happy that he's playing well and he's in a great spot.
Coach, you kind of opened with the significance, the history, the historicness of this matchup. 1-2 matchup, tickets going for $400 a pop. Game day is going to be there. Can you kind of put into words what it means to be a part of this movement, this growth of this rivalry in basketball in the state?
Yeah, I just think it's great for the state, and if you look around the state, there are so many college teams that are in first place in the league that are coming out, South Alabama or not sure wherever, UAB or Troy or Samford or North Alabama. I mean, they're Jacksonville State. The college programs in our whole state are having great years. I do think there's a trickle down effect because the interest is higher in basketball, led by Auburn and Alabama over the last 7 or 8 years. So it's great to have that kind of visibility, and it's great for our players, and certainly for us. Like if you look at the list of teams that we've played and who we still have yet to play, how many teams have we already played that could be in the Final Four? I mean, you look at whether it be Purdue or Iowa State, Houston, in the non-conference, or all pretty good, all have a real good chance. They're all going to be 1, 2, 3 seeds, and then in our league, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama. We still got to play Texas A&M. We still got to play Kentucky. I mean, we've got, so it'll be we have played and we'll continue to play a bunch of teams that could be in the Final Four.
Just the third year you coached against Mark Sears now, just from a game plan standpoint, what makes him so crafty and so difficult to stay from him?
Well, I sure wish he took our scholarship offer instead of Alabama's. He's a great competitor, one of the really hard worker. Most of the time when he steps on the floor, he's the best player on the floor, and his play is going to be, really, really significant. And so I know he embraces the rivalry, and he's just an incredible winner.
Coach, there's so much external conversation, as you'd expect, about this matchup for many reasons. I wonder internally how you guys are approaching it, and maybe what you've heard from the guys in terms of what they feel about this big opportunity.
Well, I'll let you ask the guys how they feel, right? I'm sure they're just excited about it because it's the Iron Bowl. Excited about it because it's on College game day. Excited about it because this game is going to have implications for who's going to win the regular season championship and positioning to be a number one seed either in the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament. There's a lot at stake. There's a lot riding on it. The preparation won't be any different than any other opponent. And I'm sure that'll be the case for Alabama. This is what we do. This is how we go about it. And it's been pretty successful so far.
All right, Davis, then Henry, then Jerry, and then B-Mac.
Coach, we've been looking at this game for a couple weeks now, but you guys still had to go on the road to Vanderbilt earlier this week, and obviously they've had some good home wins. What did that tell you about your team, and did you learn anything new about your team?
Well, I learned that when we are locked in and flying around and engaged defensively, we can be pretty good. When we're setting back on our heels and not playing and defending as physically and as intensely and as alertly, we're vulnerable. And so I said, you guys asked me about how we would be after the Florida loss. I said, I'll let you know on Sunday. And I just felt going into the Vanderbilt game, and I said it in some of the pregame stuff, I think we've had a good preparation. I think that we came out of that game all recognizing that we got beat, and but there were things that we could have done better, differently, to put us in position to win. And I thought everybody kind of looked internally instead of nobody was looking at somebody else next to them. I thought that was healthy, and so I wasn't surprised that we played as well as we did against Vanderbilt.
Henry, B-Mac, Jerry, and then Bill.
On that note, Chaney Johnson, one of his better games of his Auburn career. Is that something, maybe not to that level, is that something that's repeatable for him going forward?
Yeah, I've said many times here and on radio, I said, you've not seen the best of Chaney Johnson yet. And you still haven't seen the best of him. Although 9 for 10 would be pretty tough to beat. He just did a great job of obviously finishing. It's just working the lab. Nobody's in the gym more. He's out there with Ira Bowman and Marquise and some of our guys just work perfecting his craft. He's in here every night. This morning I got in early. He was in there, boombox playing, and he's out there getting shots, and working on his game. So nobody deserves it more than Chaney Johnson. And, of course, he always gives God all the glory. He always does. It's first and foremost in his mind, and I think that's just so awesome that so many of our players, when they are receiving blessing like that, just thank God for the blessing.
Bruce, looking back at 2008, how do you think you and your staff, the players, sort of handled that big moment? Anything that you could use from that to pass along to the current group?
I think that I don't know that everything applies here. I remember telling the team at Tennessee, I didn't know if we were the best team in the country. Kansas was really good. I knew Memphis was really good. But I knew one thing was for certain, that in 40 minutes of basketball, we were going to be the number one team in the country because I felt like we could win that game. And I wanted our guys to know that I felt like we could win that game. Basically, but I don't know they're the best team in the country. But I do know when we win, we will be ranked number one because we weren't ranked number one, we were number two. And it was something those guys wanted to achieve. Our number one ranking at Tennessee lasted about 48 hours. Well, it may have lasted 1 week, but we beat Memphis. It was a late game. We got back to Carver Hawkeye. Thompson Bowling. Carver Hawkeye was Iowa. Thompson Bowling at 3 o'clock in the morning. The place was packed because it was wasn't quite like Rowan Tumors, but there was a lot of people there. I don't remember getting home till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever that was. We had practice the next day to get ready for Vanderbilt. We left Monday for Vanderbilt and got our ass beat on Tuesday, so it just didn't last very long.
Coach, undefeated in conference road games. How do you keep the guys so composed in enemy territory?
I think part of things, we got older guys, and so we've been good on the road because we've got some experience. I think in the non-conference, taking them to Houston, taking them to Duke, provided us with great challenges where we had to maintain our composure. And then, we don't have any road games in the SEC. They're all neutral site games for us because the Auburn family travels. And so we're going to have people up in Tuscaloosa. If we give them something to cheer about, I know we're going to hear from them.
Two more Ferdinand folk.
Bruce, I think a lot of people have this misconception that Bama's just spreading the floor, taking a ton of threes, but they rebound the ball well on offensive glass. They're very efficient from two. What do you see from them on the inside? I know you said they were bigger, and just kind of how they've improved on the interior.
Well, they've got an incredibly deep roster. They have 13 guys, and they've had a couple of injuries, but they're able to withstand those injuries because they're very talented, they're very deep, they're very big, and they run great stuff. I mean, the combination, Ryan Pannone is one of their assistant coaches that I know fairly well. The other guys do a really good job, but Ryan has got a great offensive mind, kind of like my Burgo, and Coach Ose, and the stuff they run is fits their personnel, and it's just hard to guard, and they do a great job running to the boards. They beat us at Alabama last year because we couldn't keep them off the boards late in that game. And they force you to do some switching, and when you do some switching, your guards are going to get some bad matchups. It's not just about preventing them from scoring inside; it's about keeping them off the board. So that's sort of how we beat Ole Miss a little bit. Ole Miss had to switch us a little bit, created some mismatches down there at the board on the boards, and that's one of the ways Alabama beat us at Alabama last year.
Hold the last one.
I was going to ask you about the amount of experienced guys you have on this team. What's the benefit of that going into what is going to be a crazy hostile environment?
Yeah.
A lot of historical significance.
I think our guys have handled the moment, and I don't think that'll be an issue. We've lost 2 games so far this year to Final Four teams, and Alabama's certainly a Final Four team. So we haven't lost to anybody that's not a great team. Our guys understand that. They respect Alabama. They're not afraid of them. We've gone to the last 2 years and been in last possession games, there's some things we got to do to be able to finish. I'd give anything right now if you told me that we're going to go up there and be in a last possession game. That's not going to be easy. It's going to be harder than it's ever been to be in a last possession game because they're that good.